You can't grow into the person you're meant to be while clinging to the person you used to be. I know what it feels like to want more from yourself, to wake up with a quiet ache in your chest, a whisper that says there's more in you. But when you finally pause, when you finally breathe, when you finally allow your heart to speak louder than your fear, you meet the version of yourself you've been longing for. And let me tell you something important. That version of you is not fragile. That version of you is not confused. That version of you is not lost. That version of you is clear, powerful, steady, and deeply aligned with purpose. But you cannot meet her while hiding from her. You cannot grow into her while clinging to who you used to be just because it feels familiar. Working on yourself starts with this courage. The courage to ask real questions. What am I afraid of? What am I avoiding? What pain have I buried instead of healing? And what dream have I silenced because I didn't think I was worthy of it? These questions aren't comfortable, they aren't easy, but they are sacred. They open the door to transformation. They show you what needs to be released and what needs to be pursued. And when you understand that, you stop blaming life for being confusing and start guiding your life with intention. The truth is, your future has been waiting for you to stop running. Opportunities that felt blocked suddenly find you. People who are aligned with your growth enter your life. Inner strength begins to bloom in places where insecurity used to live. You start craving better things, better habits, better relationships, better environments. You stop settling, you stop shrinking, you stop apologizing for wanting more. That's what self-honesty does. It doesn't weaken you, it frees you. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to meet yourself where you truly are. Even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if it scares you. Because every great transformation begins with truth. Every breakthrough begins with awareness. And every powerful, grounded, purpose-driven version of you begins the moment you choose to stop running from the one person who matters most, yourself, when you finally face yourself with compassion. Instead of judgment, something extraordinary happens. Life starts facing you back with clarity instead of confusion. And that is the beginning of becoming who you were meant to be. There was a time in my life when I misunderstood discipline. I used to think it was rigid, cold, something that took joy away from life. I thought discipline was a set of rules meant to restrict me, control me, tame me. But the truth is far more beautiful. Discipline is not punishment. It is not harshness. It is love. A deep, quiet, steady love for the person you are becoming. It is a promise you make to yourself, repeated in the small choices no one else sees. It is devotion in action. When you work on yourself, discipline becomes your anchor. It grounds you when emotions rise, when doubt creeps in, when the world feels noisy and overwhelming. Discipline whispers, I'm here, keep going. And sometimes that whisper is the only thing that keeps you steady when everything around you tries to pull you off track. The world will not always motivate you, your feelings will not always cooperate. But discipline does not depend on emotion. It depends on intention. And intention is stronger than mood. Think about the person you dream of becoming: confident, focused, peaceful, successful, spiritually grounded, purposeful. That version of you is not built in a single breakthrough moment. She is built in quiet repetitions. She is built in the days you choose growth over comfort, effort over excuses, commitment over chaos. She is built in the moments where you wake up and say, I matter, my future matters, and I'm going to act like it today. There were days I didn't feel strong, days when I was overwhelmed, when the pressure was too heavy, when my mistakes felt louder than my progress. But discipline kept me moving even when my confidence didn't. It reminded me that consistency is more powerful than perfection. You don't need to get everything right, you just need to show up. Even if you show up tired, unsure, imperfect, just show up. Because every small act of discipline becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. And over time, those bricks turn into walls that protect your purpose, habits that hold your dreams, and strength that carries you through seasons of doubt. The world glamorizes the end result, the achievement, the recognition, the success. But discipline is what happens long before that. It's the unseen work, the early mornings, the late nights, the choices you make when no one is clapping yet. It's the voice inside you saying, keep going, you're building something sacred, even when progress feels slow. And yes, sometimes people won't understand, they won't see your vision, they won't know the battles you're fighting quietly, but discipline doesn't need applause, it doesn't need validation, it just needs your commitment. I've learned that the most powerful transformations happen when you stop living by your feelings and start living by your principles. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like your future depends on the step you take today, because it does. Discipline turns dreams into paths and paths into destinations. It turns someday into today. It turns I wish into I will. But let me tell you the truth no one talks about. Discipline is also gentle. It is not here to shame you for slipping, it's here to guide you back when you drift. Just like love, it forgives, it resets, it begins again. Some days you'll fall, some days you'll feel like you've disappointed yourself, but discipline says, stand up, try again. You're still worthy of the life you're building. And that is the most beautiful thing about it. It teaches resilience, it teaches self-respect. It teaches you that you can rely on yourself. Working on yourself means recognizing that discipline isn't something you have, it's something you practice. And every time you practice it, you build trust in yourself. You build belief in yourself. You build a life that reflects your values, your intentions, your faith, and that life feels different. It feels aligned, it feels grounded, it feels peaceful. Because discipline doesn't just shape what you do, it shapes who you become. When you choose discipline, you choose growth, you choose purpose, you choose your future. And one day you will look back and realize that every act of discipline, every small decision, every moment you pushed through resistance was a love letter to the person you were destined to be. Confidence is such a misunderstood thing. People imagine it as this loud, glowing force that you suddenly wake up with one morning, like a switch that turns on once life becomes easy or success arrives. But that's not how it works. Confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build, slowly, quietly, imperfectly, through motion, through trying, through failing, through getting back up when you have every reason to stay down. Confidence grows from the inside out, and it grows when you decide to move even while fear is sitting right beside you. There have been so many moments in my life when I didn't feel ready, moments when I doubted myself completely, when I questioned whether I belonged in certain rooms, whether I had what it took, whether people would see right through me. But here's the secret, no one feels ready. Readiness is a myth. If you wait for confidence before you take the first step, you will wait your entire life. You don't step forward because you're confident, you step forward to become confident. Confidence is the reward at the end, not the requirement at the beginning. And that's where so many of us get stuck. We keep waiting for the fear to disappear, waiting for approval, waiting for conditions to be perfect, waiting for the voice in our head to magically say, now you're worthy. But that voice doesn't speak unless you move. It doesn't grow unless you do. It doesn't strengthen unless you stretch yourself beyond what you're used to. Think about a moment when you were terrified of something. Maybe a new job, a new city, a new opportunity, even a new version of yourself. Remember how loud the fear was before you acted, and remember how small it became after you took that first uncomfortable step. That's how confidence works. It shows up after the fact, after you try, after you stretch, after you refuse to let fear make the decisions for you. I learned that fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you're expanding. The things that scare you the most often carry the biggest pieces of your purpose. And purpose will always stretch you into places your comfort zone doesn't understand. But if you let fear lead, you shrink. If you let action lead, you grow. And even tiny actions count. You don't need to leap. You don't need to overhaul your life in one night. Sometimes confidence is built in the quietest choices. The email you send even though your hands are shaking. The class you sign up for even though you feel unprepared. The yes you whisper to an opportunity that terrifies you. Every time you choose courage over comfort, your self-belief expands. Every step forward tells your mind, I can do hard things. And the mind listens, it remembers, it builds evidence. That evidence becomes confidence, and that confidence becomes momentum. But none of it happens with without motion. Motion is the medicine. Motion is the teacher. Motion is the doorway to becoming someone you never imagined you could be. People often think the most successful or admired individuals walk around with permanent confidence. They don't. They simply learn to keep walking even when fear showed up. They learned that confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the decision not to be governed by it. It's choosing to show up anyway, to speak up anyway, to try anyway, to believe anyway. There is such a beautiful power in taking the smallest brave step when everything inside you feels unsure. It rewrites your story, it shifts your identity, it breaks the narrative that says you're not enough. Because the moment you act, the moment you push past hesitation, the moment you put effort into your dreams instead of just imagining them, you create a new truth: I can do this. And once that truth takes root, it grows into something unshakable. Confidence is built, not born. And you are building it every time you step into the unknown with trembling hands but a steady heart. Every time you choose faith over fear. Every time you decide to move even when you feel small. That is how confidence grows, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the quiet places where you choose to rise despite the doubt. Keep moving, even slowly, even imperfectly, even uncertain, because motion is not just progress, it is transformation. And the person you're becoming is worth every brave step you take. There comes a point in your journey of growth when you realize that success is not just about what you do, it's also about what surrounds you. The people, the energy, the voices, the environments, they all shape you more than you realize. You can have the biggest dream, the strongest work ethic, the purest intention, but if you are planted in the wrong soil, you will struggle to grow. And I had to learn that the hard way. It took me years to understand that not every person who walks with you is meant to walk for you. Not every hand you hold is a hand that will lift you. Not every voice in your life is a voice that speaks life into you. Some people drain your spirit without ever raising their voice. Some conversations take your peace without ever saying a harsh word. Some environments make you small without ever asking you to shrink. And if you're not careful, you start confusing familiarity with belonging. You start keeping people close simply because you've known them for years, even though they no longer grow with you, or believe in you, or understand you. I had to learn that protecting your environment is not selfish, it's spiritual. Your soul needs protection just as much as your dreams do. Energy is contagious, fear spreads, negativity spreads, doubt spreads, but so does courage, so does faith, so does discipline. And the more I grew, the more I saw that the energy around me was either feeding my faith or feeding my fear. There was no neutral space. I had to choose, so I started paying attention. How do I feel after talking to certain people? Lighter or heavier? Inspired or empty? Seen or dismissed? Safe or judged? Those answers told me everything. And as I slowly removed the voices that dimmed my spirit, I didn't lose anything valuable. I gained something priceless: peace. Peace, which became my clarity. Peace, which became my strength. Peace, which became the foundation for every good decision that followed. Because peace is not the absence of noise, it's the presence of alignment. And when your environment aligns with your purpose, something inside you comes alive. You start hearing your intuition more clearly. You start trusting yourself more deeply. You stop doubting every step you take. You stop apologizing for who you're becoming. You begin to rise with a steadiness that surprises even you. But protecting your environment is not just about removing people. It's also about adding the right ones. People who remind you of your strength when you forget it. People who speak truth into your life. People who challenge you to grow with grace, not insecurity. People who pray for you without telling you. People who clap for you even when their own season is slow. People who want to see you win because your win doesn't threaten their identity. Those people are rare, but they exist. And you deserve them. You deserve relationships that don't require you to shrink, dim, or contort yourself. You deserve friendships that make your spirit feel safe and your purpose feel supported. You deserve environments that speak to the future you're building, not the past you've outgrown. But here's the part no one warns you about. When you start protecting your environment, some people will misunderstand you. They will say you've changed, and you have. They will say you're distant, because you are distancing yourself from what harms you. They will say you're acting different, because you're finally acting in alignment. Growth can look like rejection to those who benefited from your silence. But this journey is not about comforting others. It's about honoring your soul. Protecting your environment is an act of discipline, an act of faith, an act of self-respect. When you create space around you that nourishes your spirit, you stop operating from survival mode and start operating from purpose. You become more focused, more confident, more grounded. I used to hide my pain because I didn't want anyone to see the parts of me that weren't polished or perfect. But those are the parts that shaped me the most. Those are the parts that taught me compassion, resilience, empathy, wisdom. Those are the parts that made me stronger than the version of myself that had never fallen. Strength does not come from pretending life is easy. Strength comes from rising every time life tests you. Strength comes from choosing to heal even when healing feels slow and messy. Strength comes from refusing to let the past stain the future. Sometimes the world wants you to move on before you're ready. Sometimes people don't know how to support you through your broken pieces, so they tell you to be strong, meaning be silent. But being strong does not mean erasing your pain. True strength is looking at your wounds with honesty and saying, "This hurt me, but it did not end me, and it will not define me." Healing is not a straight line. Some days you feel brave, some days you feel broken, some days you feel both, and that's okay. Healing isn't about speed, it's about direction. And as long as you're moving forward, even slowly, you're winning. Even when you can't see progress, your soul feels it. It knows when you're choosing growth over bitterness, forgiveness over resentment, hope over fear. And one day, almost suddenly, you wake up and realize you're standing stronger than you ever imagined. Not because life got easier, but because you got wiser. You learned how to protect your heart without hardening it. You learned how to forgive yourself for being human. You learned how to rise without needing the world's permission. Your scars will never be the prettiest parts of you, but they will be the truest. And truth is powerful. Truth is freeing. Truth is where your strength lives. So don't hide your wounds. Honor them. They trained you. They taught you. They prepared you. They carved out space inside you for deeper faith, deeper courage, deeper purpose. They shaped a version of you that is resilient, grounded, unshakably connected to who you truly are. You are not the things that hurt you. You are the strength that carried you through them, and that strength is still growing. Gratitude is one of those things that sounds simple, almost too simple, until life teaches you how powerful it really is. I used to think gratitude was just about saying thank you for the good moments, the wins, the opportunities, the blessings that were easy to recognize. But as I grew, as I stumbled, as I walked through seasons that felt heavy and confusing and unfair, gratitude revealed its true nature. It stopped being a polite gesture and became a form of spiritual armor, a way of living, a way of seeing, a way of surviving. Because when life tests you, when plans fall apart, when you lose people you thought would stay forever, when you face disappointment that shakes your faith, it's easy to drown in what's missing. It's easy to fixate on what didn't happen, what didn't work, what didn't go your way. But gratitude pulls you back to what remains. It reminds you of what's still here, still holding you, still guiding you, still teaching you. Gratitude is not denial. It doesn't ignore the pain. It doesn't pretend everything is perfect. Gratitude simply shifts your focus from what is broken to what is still possible, from what you lost to what you learned, from what hurt you to what healed you. And in that shift, your entire life feels different. I learned to thank God not only for the blessings that made me smile, but also for the ones that made me grow, the ones that stretched me, the ones that forced me to let go of comfort in order to step into calling. I learned to thank God for closed doors because they protected me from what wasn't meant for my path. I learned to thank Him for delays because those delays were often preparing me for something bigger. I learned to thank Him for the seasons where I had to walk alone because those were the seasons that strengthened my spirit the most. There were nights when gratitude was the only thing that kept me from sinking into fear. When I reminded myself, I've survived every single difficult moment so far. I'm still here, I'm still breathing, I'm still learning. Gratitude created space for peace to enter where panic tried to live. It softened the sharp edges of disappointment. It reminded me that even in uncertainty, I was being carried by a force greater than any challenge. And something remarkable happens when you start practicing gratitude intentionally. You begin to see life differently. The small things become sacred: a quiet morning, a friend who checks in, a lesson learned the hard way, the ability to start over. You begin to realize that miracles are not always dramatic. Sometimes they're subtle, hidden in moments we take for granted. Gratitude uncovers them. Your heart becomes lighter, not because life gets easier, but because your perspective becomes stronger. You stop measuring your worth by what you achieve and start recognizing the beauty of who you're becoming. You start craving less of what the world offers and more of what your soul needs. Gratitude grounds you. It centers you. It keeps you connected to what matters most. And the people around you feel that shift too. Gratitude makes you kinder, more patient, more present. It softens your tone. It deepens your empathy. It inspires you to serve, to uplift, to appreciate people instead of rushing past them. Gratitude creates a kind of quiet power, one that doesn't need to boast or compete or compare. It just shines. In a world that constantly tells you to chase more, be more, want more, gratitude whispers, you already have enough to begin. It teaches you that abundance is not measured by possessions or status, but by awareness. Awareness of the blessings that surround you, the lessons that shape you, the love that supports you, the faith that sustains you. Gratitude doesn't just change your mood, it changes your direction. It leads you toward peace, toward clarity, toward grace, toward purpose. It strengthens your spirit so deeply that even when storms come, and they will, you don't crumble. Because you remember the God who carried you before will carry you again. And that realization, that quiet, steady, sacred truth becomes your armor. There comes a turning point in your life when you realize that you cannot build your future on the shaky foundation of other people's approval. You cannot rise while carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. You cannot evolve if you're constantly shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for the person you're becoming. And one day, it hits you. You were never meant to be a prisoner of other people's opinions. You were meant to serve your purpose. That realization wasn't sudden for me. It was slow, painful stretching. I spent years caring too deeply about what people thought, about how they saw me, about whether they understood my choices. I wanted to keep everyone comfortable, keep everyone pleased, keep everyone happy, and in the process, I lost pieces of myself. You cannot live a purpose-driven life while trying to satisfy every voice around you. It's impossible. Your calling won't fit their preferences. Your destiny won't match their expectations. Your journey won't always make sense to them because it wasn't given to them. The world can be loud. People will talk. They will critique your steps without ever taking a single step of their own. They will question your choices without understanding the battles you're fighting. They will form opinions about your path without knowing the prayers you've prayed, the nights you've cried, the strength it took for you just to keep standing. And if you allow those voices to dictate your direction, you will lose years of your life trying to become someone you were never meant to be. I had to learn that purpose is not something you chase, it's something you serve. And service requires courage. It requires conviction. It requires the strength to walk alone sometimes. It requires the faith to say, God, I don't know where this is leading, but I trust the one who is leading me. When you serve your purpose, you stop living for applause and start living for alignment. You stop living for validation and start living for truth. You stop living for comfort and start living for calling. And here's the beautiful, often misunderstood truth. Serving your purpose is not glamorous. It's not always exciting. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it forces you to grow in ways that feel uncomfortable and unfamiliar. Sometimes it asks you to release relationships you thought were forever. Sometimes it asks you to start over when you thought you were settled. Sometimes it asks you to rise when all you want is rest. Purpose is demanding, but it's worth every sacrifice Because when you serve your purpose, life begins to unfold in ways that feel divinely orchestrated. Doors open that you didn't even knock on. Opportunities appear that you never saw coming. People come into your life who lift you, guide you, support you, and reflect the person you're becoming, not the version of you the world tried to reduce you to. Your spirit starts to feel lighter. Your steps become more aligned. Your confidence becomes rooted in something deeper than circumstance, and something extraordinary happens. You stop needing permission to shine. You stop waiting for validation to move. You stop apologizing for your growth. You stop explaining your choices to people who were never meant to understand them. You stop dimming your light for rooms that were threatened by it. When you serve your purpose, you walk with a different kind of strength, a quiet, steady, unshakable strength that comes from knowing you are exactly where you're meant to be. People will still talk, let them. People will still misunderstand you, bless them. People will still doubt you, forgive them. None of that has the power to derail what God has already written for you. Your life is not a public vote. Your calling is not up for debate. Your path is not a community project. It is sacred. It is personal. It is yours. And when you choose to serve your purpose with faith, with discipline, with humility, with courage, something changes inside you. You stop being moved by the noise of the world and start being guided by the whisper of your spirit. You become grounded, and that future is bigger than your fear, louder than your doubt, stronger than the voices that told you to stay small. So when life feels heavy, remember this: you are being guided, you are being prepared, you are being strengthened for something you cannot yet imagine. Don't let fear talk you out of what faith is trying to lead you into. Don't let the world shrink the purpose God placed in you. Don't let the past convince you that you're not worthy of what's coming. You are becoming someone extraordinary, even on the days when you can't feel it, even on the days when you question everything, even on the days you have to take one shaky step at a time. Keep moving, keep believing, keep becoming, because the moment you choose faith over fear, the moment you choose purpose over approval, the moment you choose growth over comfort, that's the moment your life begins to change. So walk forward with courage. Walk forward with grace. Walk forward with the quiet, knowing that God is not done with you yet. And remember this, let it echo in your spirit long after the world goes quiet. The light within you was placed there for a reason. Don't hide it, don't dim it, own it, and let it lead you exactly where you were meant to rise.